Hi everyone, my name's Denis Horrigan. I'm here at Connecticut Wealth Management with a good friend, Kim Morrison. And interesting, the last few years, a lot of conversation around fulfillment, finding your purpose in life, and being happy at work, which is the perfect conversation to have with Kim. So Kim is a local entrepreneur, a little bit of a celebrity. She's been on the TEDx stage, and she has a company in Avon called the New England Pasta Company. Mm-hmm. But today she's here to talk about a newish venture called BeanZ Co. But I'll let you take it away and tell us kind of about your history and about how BeanZ Co. came to be.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. So New England Pasta Company came to be 27 years ago when my husband and I opened a very small version of what we are doing now. And time went on, we grew to the place that we're in now, which is a 4,000 square foot building that has houses the New England Pasta Company. And it is a business that does gourmet to go, fresh pasta, ravioli, desserts, everything from the start to finish of a meal. Mm-hmm. And so when we moved to this spot 10 years ago, we had a small cafe that was located within the walls of New England Pasta Company.
Little coffee shop?
Little coffee shop, more like a lunch place. We didn't do breakfast at that time. We had waitresses, we had a great menu, but the major complaint that we heard was it just took too long to have lunch. As you know, being a businessman, you go out to lunch, you only have so much time to eat. So we were trying to come up with a solution to that problem, since we were getting ready to sign another 5-year lease in that location. And that location is excellent. It's a great frontage and right in the center of Avon. So we knew we wanted to sign on for another 5 years, but we had to do something with our cafe. Mm-hmm. So I just happened to be speaking with a very good friend of mine, Noelle Alex, about our girls. My daughter at that time was 18. She has Down syndrome, and Noelle's daughter is a year older than Megan and has Down syndrome as well. And we were just kind of, what are we going to do with our girls? Mm. And as soon as we said it, I was like, ooh, I have an idea. Yeah. What if we change the way that we deliver the food, and we change who actually is going to give you the food? Yeah. And so we came up with a plan to really, at the beginning, was just to employ our daughters. And then it snowballed within all of our talks with all of our friends and the people that supported us in getting this venture going. And that was in November of 2017. And in December of 2018, BeanZ Company was born.
It was born.
It was born.
Yeah. So Megs was 18, Kate was 19. Mm-hmm. Were those ages kind of important ages to try to start something like BeanZ?
I think, the aging out system, when they're going through, high school, and both girls were lucky enough to go to a transition academy right nearby, which right now you have until age 22. That changed because of COVID, but they had until age 21 to stay in the school system. That is the law. And so they graduated from high school and went on to the transition program. But once they hit 21, what is there? Yeah. For my other daughter, who is still in college, but when she graduates, and just like Noelle's other girls, the world is out there for them. They have many, many, many choices. Yeah. And it's really up to them to choose. Where for our other girls, for Megan and Kate, the choices are made kind of for them. And there's not a lot. Yeah. So that was, disturbing, and we felt like we had to do something about it. Yeah. I don't think either of us really had any idea like how big this and wonderful this idea was going to become, but it was more to try and solve that problem, because it is out there now that this employment, 80% of adults with intellectual disabilities are underemployed or unemployed. That's 80%.
80%.
Yeah, and that's probably being very, very conservative.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So people with IDD age out kind of the support systems, the traditional support systems at 22, and they're left to try to find some sort of meaningful activity, work, hopefully.
Correct. So there's like two different groups. So you have the Megans and the Kates that qualify for state services and can go and be part of an agency like FAVAR or HARC or MARC. They're all over the state of Connecticut, and that agency will find them employment day programs and things like that. But what we found once we started interviewing, the pile of kids or young adults, like this pile over here, are the ones that don't qualify for the state services. These are the kids that they don't. So who's out there finding them jobs? Yeah. Their moms, their dads, their friends. Yeah. So this is the pile that, after going through the process of hiring, it was very, very hard for us to not try and help everybody, which we obviously couldn't. But we do have, on our staff now, we do have adults that are with an agency and adults that are without, because we felt that was really important. Yeah.
So when you walk into BeanZ as a customer, a little bit of a different experience. What you as the business owner, what do you hear from customers? What do you hear from employees?
Yeah, so I think the customers were the ones that were the most affected by this change. It was absolutely wonderful what's been going on. I could probably actually write a book of all the experiences that I've been through with different customers. The biggest word I get is that it's an experience when you walk in. It's like a big hug. It's like a big, just warm, fuzzy feeling. And you see it on their faces when they walk in. So you kind of know who the newbies are, because they're like, oh, like what's going on here? And then what's happening is they're seeing the possibilities. They're seeing what our employees can do and how they do it together. So it's important to know that our business model is a 50-50 inclusive employment model. So it's
50% IDD, 50% typical?
Correct.
Okay.
So they work side by side. In the three different stations that we have, nobody does just one job. Nobody, is the only person that cleans the bathroom or the only one that does the restocking. All of the employees do all of the jobs to get the job done. But what we realized with Megan growing up in our family business and really needing a lot of support as a parent, but also medically for her medical issues, she was kind of part of an inclusive employment model right from the beginning. So she learned so much from just being there that at this point, she's now 24, she can show anybody how to use the computer system, and she should, because she's the best and she's fast. She knows the jobs without really being told, and she's very comfortable there, and it's like her safe place and her happy place.
Well, she's almost a manager.
She pretty much is the owner. I kind of work for her now. So that's what we hear from customers. They feel very at ease to tell us their stories. We have people that come from all over the country actually to see what we do, because they want to try and replicate it back in their hometowns. So we encourage that, and we love talking to people about, what we feel we did to make this business successful.
Well, this idea, which folks started with BeanZ, it's bigger than BeanZ, right? I mean, the idea is to expand it beyond BeanZ. Talk about that, about the success that you've seen elsewhere, some of the challenges, and what you're trying to do next. Yeah,
so like I said, this has turned into more than we bargained for a little bit at the beginning, but the success stories are, from what I know, and I know there's a lot more out there. We've had one gentleman who was a customer of ours for a long time, the president and CEO of BeanZ Co, and he came in, and he had been doing catering with pasta company for years, and saw it, and it just hit a nerve with him. And he was just, every time he came in, he just was, you could tell, the wheels were turning, how can I do something like this back at my agency? And we tried to tell him, you don't have to hire, 5, 6, 7. Really, one person is a win-win in a success story. So he did end up hiring Kate, and she is a part of their company, through and through, business cards, desk, does all the social events with them, goes to the movies, out to happy hour, everything.
I ran into her. We were at the Best Places to Work event.
Okay.
And which BeanZ Co won an award for, and I bumped into Kate.
Yep.
And there I saw her, and it was a shining example of a couple of things. Kate was so happy, and BeanZ Co was so happy, and was winning an award for being one of the best places to work, and Kate was one of their employees. So it kind of made a ton of sense.
Yeah, and it will make an impact, I'm sure. There's another company called Blue Chip Creamery in brand new. I don't know if it's brand new, but they are from Glastonbury, young couple, and we sell their product in our store, these delicious ice cream sandwiches. But we were talking, and his wife was involved with Special Olympics, before she started this, and they were really interested in hiring adults with disabilities. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you just have to do it. Don't think about it too much, just do it. So right now they're working with Oak Hill, and they have a training program through their ice cream business. So it's just training at this point, but that's the first step. The fact that they opened their business, they got creative. And you do have to do that. This is not a population where you can say, okay, well, we have an admin assistant position. Well, that's not going to work. You have to look at what their strengths are, and can you develop a position around that. So yes, it is a little bit of work on the front end, but the benefits of hiring an adult with an intellectual disability goes beyond that. It affects your employees. It's just the right thing to do. It's a socially conscious, good decision.
So talk about the kind of the benefit to the employer. So, and I think of watching Ron from Mince and Hope telling his story and saying, if you're thinking about it,
do it.
Just do it. Just do it and have a conversation. But what are some of the benefits to the business, from a business perspective, the benefits of the business owner to the business itself?
Yeah, that's an obvious. There are a lot of obvious benefits. Bottom line, it's an obvious benefit. Our cafe before literally had the same menu. It looked a whole bunch different, and it's much more comfortable now. But that doesn't mean people are going to just come in because it's comfortable. Yeah. So having the employees there, having the mission in place, is definitely will draw people in. So your bottom line benefits, your, like I said, your employees all around benefit, and I can say honestly, a lot of my employees didn't sign up when I hired them because it was before BeanZ was really in existence, and every single one of them will tell you that's like the best part of their day. Yeah. They've made new friends, and it's just, you watch the good in everybody come out. And I think we need a lot of that right now. For sure. And so it's,
Well, you've also been able to hire some awesome employees, right? So I think of Duncan, I think of Nick, and I think of their particular skill set are perfect, are kind of exactly what an employer needs. Yep. And I think it's transferable to any business.
Yeah, and I think that, it sounds like it could sound like a real scary adventure to go on, but we worked with Favar. We developed 3 different job descriptions, and we gave them. So
Favar kind of acts like the employment agency.
Correct.
Right. For an employer, they would go to Favar and say, we're looking to hire somebody.
Right.
These are the skill sets we need.
Correct. And if you're willing to follow a certain employment model, like we have 3 adults from Favar that come in, and then we have a job coach that accompanies them. Those 3 employees are on my payroll. The job coach is on Favar's payroll. Okay. So it's a nice support system. So it's not like you just have them come in and they're not supported, from that. So so those 3 were kind of picked for what their strengths were to what my job descriptions were. Okay. So. And then they had to learn everything else, though. Like, we weren't comfortable just having them, Nick is obviously really good on the register. He is like the mayor. Everybody knows him and loves him. But we want him to grow, too. So we would find things like, okay, so what's the next thing we want you to work on? Well, one of the things for any of my employees, a lot of my employees, is answering the phone. I mean, it's a skill. Yeah. So he's like, okay, let's do it. I'm like, okay. So he answers the phone now. He takes orders, and that means taking people's credit card numbers and getting it all right and reading it back and making sure it's right. So a whole other job he learned, or how to get the food out of the kitchen. So we have Duncan that's back in the kitchen making sure the food's going to the right table. They switch. So Nick will go back and Duncan will come up and work on the register. So they've really learned how to navigate all 3 areas that are, there are stations that we call them.
Yeah. So the benefits to the business, I think we kind of identified that we've also talked a little bit about the benefit to the employee, the benefits to the community and the family. What are those?
To have your child working, huge benefit. Yeah. Not to be home sitting in front of a TV. Yeah. That's what we hear from a lot of the parents that, come in and are wondering if we're hiring, that don't have the benefit of an agency looking for jobs for their children. They just want to get them out there. And so to the community, it's just a real feel-good support.
You tell a story about Nick when he first started, the first day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so Nick, oh my gosh. So I've known Nick for a long time. Noelle's known Nick for a long time. And we thought this is good. And he came in, he did his job, and he looked at us at the end of the day and he goes, "Oh man, I cannot wait to go home." And I'm like, and Noelle was like, "Oh, shoot, fail." Yeah. He goes, "Well, I can't wait to go home so I can go to bed and come back to work tomorrow." I'm like, "I'll pay you."
That's great.
And that's really been the way he is 3.5 years later. It's, if you ask Nick what does BeanZ mean to him, it's like family. Yeah. And that's how they all feel. And that's what it is. I mean, one of my girls is getting married. She's getting married next weekend, and I can't wait to go to the wedding and watch this young girl who's developed so much in 3 years and become more confident in her job and in her life. To be comfortable watching her. She's getting married. It's so cool. Well,
it's one of those. It seems like it's one of those rare instances where it's good for business. It's good for the business owners and all the employees. It's good for the employee and their family. It's good for the community. It's kind of good for everybody. There's no downside, and I think these days when we could all use a little bit of feel good, it's a wonderful thing. It's even just visiting BeanZ is super rewarding. So I think it's an important distinction that you're not a nonprofit. In fact, you're in an industry that is really, really hard with slim margins. It's hard business, and you have done it with the 50-50 model. Correct. So other businesses that have larger margins, that are not as brutal as the restaurant business, the food business, they can do it too. Yeah. And they can be successful, and they can continue to make money, and they can continue to employ somebody. I love the fact that Favar, I didn't realize that, I guess that Favar actually will provide a job coach. Yep,
if you follow the employment model. Yeah. So it can't be, there's different models for everybody. So, and depending on how many hours they qualify for, and that's complicated. I don't really get involved in that part. But, to have 3 adults there, the job coach comes. If you have, if your child doesn't fall under the Favar umbrella, and you can always have a job coach, come in and check in on them. And the 2 young men that work for me benefit from the fact that the job coach is there when they're there. So it's a, like I said, it's a win-win. And the job coach is a huge part of it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they really do have to know the jobs. It's not just sitting there and watching. Yeah. That doesn't fly with us, especially not in my business. It's like you're part of the team. So and that's the way we all learn, is from each other, right? And that's how these guys will watch you do something, and then they want to do it.
I guess that's the last thing I'll ask you is, what should people do if they're thinking about it, and to follow Ron Perrine's advice, just do it. Who should they reach out to?
Well, they can reach out to me or to Noelle at BeanZ Company. We're there all the time, so we're easy to find. That's probably the best place to start, and then we can kind of point you in a direction. They can call Favar directly. They're located in Canton, and there's plenty of people that would be happy to talk to them as well. Yeah. So that's
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm honored and humbled to be friends with you and Noelle and Scott and Tim, by the way, the unsung heroes behind the
men
women.
Behind the scenes.
Yep. But what you folks do for your kids, other people's kids, the community, and you make some killer food.
Yeah, we
It's
do.
delicious food and great coffee. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having
the
me.
time.
Any chance to talk about what we do.
Cool.
We love it.
Good.
So
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.